Now let's have a look at question number 4. Question 4 part A. Calculate the kinetic energy of a body of mass 0.5 kg and momentum 20 kg meter per second. So kinetic energy is to be calculated, and what is given to us is momentum and the mass of the object. So first of all, kinetic energy, as we all know, is given by the formula half mv square. However, if I multiply the numerator and the denominator by n, in that case we'll get half m square v square upon n, which is half mv the whole square upon n. Now m into v is nothing but momentum, so we can say p square upon 2m. So basically kinetic energy is equal to p square divided by 2m. So momentum is already given to us, that's 20 kg meter per second. So 20 square divided by 2 into mass, which is 0.5 kg. So denominator turns out to be 1, and therefore the kinetic energy is 400 joules. Now in the next question, 4 part B, we need to calculate the effective resistance across the points A and B. Now what I'll do is I'll simplify this circuit diagram. So we have point A out here, 2 ohms. There is 2 ohm and 1 ohm out here, which will add up to 3 ohms. And there is another 3 ohms out here. And this 3 ohms I can represent it here. So this will be point B. Now we need to calculate the effective resistance between point A and B, and these two resistances, that is 3 ohms and 3 ohms, are in parallel, and as a consequence the effective resistance between these two parallel resistors is 3 into 3 upon 3 plus 3, which is 9 upon 6, which is 1.5 ohms. So therefore we can write this as 2 ohms, 3 ohms parallel 3 ohms, which I told you all is 1.5 ohms, and finally the 3 ohms just before point B. And therefore I can always write this as 3 into 3 upon 3 plus 3, which is equal to 1.5, and finally you have 3 ohms. So the total resistance as a consequence will be 2 ohms plus 1.5 ohms plus 3 ohms, which turns out to be 6.5 ohms. In part C of question number 4, a prism is given, a screen is drawn, and the only ray which was drawn in the question is this particular one, which is labeled as R plus B plus Y, that is red plus blue plus yellow. Now as we know very well that amongst all the colors, the blue, which is the smaller wavelength amongst these three, will bend the most, whereas red, which is the longest wavelength, will bend the least. So blue will bend the most, red will bend the least, and yellow will be in between. So here, as you all can see, once white light strikes the prism, blue will bend more, red will bend the least, and yellow will be to an in between extent. And as a consequence, finally after one more refraction, the rays will reach the screen, and there will be 3 spots obtained on the screen. One will be blue, one will be yellow, and the third one will be red. And the blue spot obviously will be the lowest down, and the red one will be the uppermost one. Next question, state 2 characteristics of a primary coil of a step up transformer as compared to secondary coil. Now, a primary coil of a step-up transformer definitely has lesser number of turns as compared to the secondary coil. Also, the primary coil has to carry a larger current and therefore it will have wires which are made thicker as compared to the secondary coil. So, primary coil wires are thicker than the secondary coil wires. The next question, the wavelength of waves produced on the surface of water is 20 centimeters. So if we work it out in SI unit, the wavelength will be 20 centimeters, that is 0.2 meters. If the wave velocity is 24 meters per second, then calculate the number of waves produced in 1 second. Now, number of waves produced in 1 second is called the frequency of the wave. So, what they are asking us to calculate is the frequency of the wave, and what we have been given is the wavelength, that is lambda, and the velocity, which is given as 24 meters per second. So, we can always use the formula V is equal to F lambda to calculate F. Velocity is 24. Frequency is what we don't know, and wavelength is 0.2 meters. So, therefore, the frequency will be 240 upon 2, which is 120 hertz. So, the frequency of the wave will be 120 hertz.